Game of Thrones creator George R.R. Martin is not happy that fans are celebrating the demise of terrible films like The Marvels. Before we get into this, I'd like to ask you please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Martin took to his Nata blog where he lamented the state of the world, expressing an extreme black pill mind view, deeply concerning. At one point, he said this: the entire human race may be forgotten. If climate change does not get us, war will. Too many countries have nukes. So you kind of get the vibe that he's going with in this post. Very black pill, very fear mongering, just very cynical. Just a terrible way to look at the world. But after he shared that, he did say he was finding solace in films and television shows, but claimed even there, toxicity is growing. Wow, haven't heard that before. Maybe it's because the people that are creating this stuff actually hate the people that that they want to watch it. And then he went on and said this: it used to be fun talking about our favorite books and films and having spirited debates with fans who saw things different. But somehow, in this age of social media, it is no longer enough to say, I did not like book X or film Y, and here's why. Now, social media is ruled by anti fans who would rather talk about the stuff they hate than the stuff they love and delight in dancing on the graves of anyone whose film has flopped. So he's obviously trying to push a narrative here that we should not be celebrating films like the Marvels bombing at the box office. Interestingly enough, too, he's saying that people like myself, who obviously celebrate that film failing, would rather like to talk about that because we hate it. Well, no, we're talking about it because we actually used to love the Marvel Cinematic Universe and we hate what it has been turned into. So seeing these people that are trying to inject this, a lot of times evil ideologies, in the case of the Marvels, obviously intersectional feminism, onto people, it is cause to celebrate because I don't want to see my fellow man be led down the awful, terrible, destructive path of intersectional feminism. So it's good that they're not being exposed to that absolutely terrible ideology and potentially turning their lives towards it. That is a cause to celebrate. The fact that people are rejecting it is a reason to cheer. And we're in a battle. We're in a battle against these people that want to turn people into these destructive lifestyles. And when you win a victory, when you win a battle, you celebrate that battle. So sorry, George R. R. Martin, you're not going to stop me from celebrating these clear victories that we are having. And Chuck Dixon has talked about this as well. This is what he posted in November when the Marvels bombed abysmally at the box office. He says, this bears repeating because the majority of us are tired of seeing characters and franchises we loved sacrificed on the altar of wokeness by people who don't have the love, talent, craft, or business ever getting anywhere near these properties. That this movie is failing so big is a cause for celebration. It's a wake up call for the entertainment business that they need to get back to producing the well crafted stuff they used to be capable of. I mean, when a weak cheese movie of a dryball subject like Oppenheimer is out earning the latest popcorn blockbuster, that's us telling them to get their crap together. And we've been telling them this for years. Years we've been telling them this. And we are winning victories now. These are huge victories, and we're winning them more and more and more as they continue to try and push these evil ideologies through these films and television shows that are being rejected. And and this is exactly what they're doing. I mean, novelist Brian Niemeyer has explained this very thoroughly. He says a lot of times when they're pushing this propaganda, it's not always done to, quote, affect cultural change by themselves, but to buttress policies enacted through government, usually the courts, which are informed by witches in the academy. And it's hard not to see that. A lot of this stuff is coming from the top down. We just talked about the European Union trying to remove gendered language from the original Star Trek line. That is coming from the top down. It is coming from the government. So, and it's clearly trying to inject it into the television show, right, of Star Trek. So it's very obvious to see what he's pointing out here. But sometimes we need someone else to elucidate that. But I also do think he kind of says maybe he doesn't think that they're trying to affect cultural change by themselves. But I do think there are many cases they are trying to do that. We even have Jon Favreau admitting as much during an appearance on Vanity Fair's new Establishment Summit. He said, understanding that stories for the generation that's coming of age can open doors to people and help guide the values of our culture if stories are told well. So to me, that's the part that I feel. So he obviously believes that stories can indeed guide values of the culture. And he thinks that film and television can do that explicitly. And I think that he's right. I do think that there are stories that and television shows and films and movies are indeed intended to try and do that. You can't. It's obvious. You see it. I mean, that is why they put intersectional feminism in the Marvels, because they want you to adopt that ideology. He also would share that there are life lessons that are in these stories that carry on the tradition. And speaking to George Lucas, he felt that the Western was the genre that helped teach a generation of people coming of age about the value systems that are espoused by that genre. And that Star Wars, part of that responsibility is remembering that part of your audience is a whole generation that's coming of age. And through stories, we express our values to the next generation. And so, one of the things he said was not to lose sight that this is the main audience for stories. So, he's clearly saying there, through stories, we express our values to the next generation. Clearly wants to pass on quote unquote values to the next generation. Now, I don't think Favreau is really in on a lot of this woke ideology stuff. I haven't really seen a lot of that for the most part. Obviously, I think you can point to The Mandalorian season 3. I do think that had a heavy hand of feminism in it, with Bo-Katan basically taking on the role of the Mandalorian. So I think you can criticize him for that. But for the most part, I haven't really seen that in a lot of his works. But the fact that he's saying that you can pass that, like, the values on through stories, I think is relevant. And I think he's not the only one who sees that in Hollywood. Clearly, I think a lot of these people do indeed see that. Again, just look at the Marvels. Why were they putting intersectional feminism in that film? Clearly trying to propagandize people, right? Nevertheless, Favreau would go on and say, it's great for us who grew up with it and feel nostalgic, but really you're trying to teach life lessons through the themes and the conflicts that arise among these characters. So clearly, again, he's pointing out here, he's trying to teach life lessons through movies and television shows. And it's hard not to see that is exactly what they've been trying to do in a lot of these major franchises and properties. You can just look at Terminator, you can look at Ghostbusters, etc. Feminism, obviously, being one of the biggest ideologies they are indeed trying to push in a lot of these properties. So I just want to reiterate, I think it does bear repeating. Seeing these shows and movies fail, because they are trying to imprint vices onto us instead of virtues, is cause to celebrate. We don't want our fellow men being having vices imprinted on them through movies and TV shows. And it's good that they are choosing not to subject themselves to kind of that propaganda. And it is cause to celebrate. So no, George R. R. Martin, you trying to quote unquote shame us into into not celebrating is not going to work. We are going to continue to celebrate our victories. You will not stop us, because at the end of the day, we will be triumphant.